Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our Chestnut Residence Q&A panel. First and foremost, if I'm not the first one, let me be one of the first people to congratulate you on being admitted to the University of Toronto for the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering. Huge congratulations, a huge accomplishment, and hopefully we look forward to seeing you next year on campus. Today, I am joined by a panel of individuals who have either lived at Chestnut Residence or are currently living at Chestnut Residence. And I'll let each of them introduce themselves first. So Aaron, if you don't mind introducing yourselves and letting us know just who you are at Chestnut.
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you all. My name's Aaron. I'm one of the residence life coordinators here, and what that means is to kind of oversee the residence life program, kind of supervise the dons, and provide support for students as it's needed.
Awesome. Iman, do you mind introducing yourself, maybe what year you're in, as you can see on the slide, and when you lived at Chestnut as well?
Hello, my name is Iman. I'm a second year chemical engineering student, and I lived in Chestnut during my first year.
Awesome. And Hannah, you as well, please.
Hi everybody, my name is Hannah Ng. I am a current fourth year mechanical engineering student at the University of Toronto. I lived at Chestnut my first year way back in 2016 on an unthemed floor, and now I'm currently a don on one of the engineering floors.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'll stop sharing my screen just so everyone can see that visual representation. And we'll actually just go ahead and get into the general Q&A. So my first question, I guess I'll direct it to Iman, you. First question is, everyone knows, or if you don't know, Chestnut Residence isn't located completely on a residence. It's a few minutes away. So I'm just wondering if you can talk about, how long the commute is and really the type of commute and how you got to campus during your first year of study.
Yeah, so I usually just walk to campus. It was about a 15-minute walk on a good day, 10 minutes if I was really fast and wanted to get back home to residence. But I had no problem walking to campus. I know before coming to Chestnut, a lot of people told me like, oh my God, it's so far from campus. But in reality, it's really not, especially you find people to walk to campus with, or even walk back to residence with. And it really helps to pass the time. And I didn't find a problem with it.
Awesome. And Hannah, yourself, I know obviously this year we are learning virtually, but did you also mainly walk to campus, subway, bike? How was your commute to school?
Yeah, back in first year, I would mainly walk. I did try biking and subwaying a couple times, but I found that by the time you actually wait for the subway or get your bike out of the garage area, it's about the same amount of time as walking. So yeah, I would agree with Iman. I really like to walk. And it was a nice way to start and end my day.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned a bike area. So there is, like a bike locker at Chestnut as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. It's great to know for any would-be cyclists as well. Aaron, I'll direct my next question to you. And it's really kind of relevant to everything that's going on nowadays. I know a lot of students are probably wondering, how has Chestnut adapted to the COVID-19 pandemic? And really what kind of safeguards are in place to, make sure that staff, students, and everyone is safe in residence?
So we follow a lot of the Ontario parameters around people, like the number of people in common rooms and people inside a room. So if you have any questions there, you can look at the guideline there. But for Chestnut specifically, just looking at some notes over here, all the rooms are single rooms now. So all doubles have become singles, just so that only one person can be in the room at the same time. We do have common rooms open, but all of them have a max capacity, and that's kind of monitored by our security and the staff who are there, so no one goes over that. We've got increased cleaning, so any of the commonly used areas, such as the elevator, the dining hall, and common rooms have increased cleaning. Elevators are limited down to 2 people per person, and there's a masks mandatory in all common areas in the building. So it's very much just limiting the number of people in spaces and increased cleaning.
Awesome, that's great to hear. And Hannah, I know you're currently a don. How are you feeling in residence? Just with your safety and just how everything's looking on your end in terms of the makeup of the building right now.
Yeah, because it's always been really unique in the sense that it used to be an old hotel. So all the rooms, even in a normal year when you had one roommate, you'd also have your own bathroom in suite. So I feel very safe within Chestnut, just between the multiple cleanings, as well as having your own bathroom area, having your own living space. You're all very kind of self-isolated in a very good way, that sense that if you don't want to meet people, it's okay to not meet people. Yeah.
Awesome, that's great. Again, nowadays the big thing is safety, right? And it's good to hear that, the vast majority of, as many things have been incorporated as possible to keep our students safe. And of course, as we get new updates, and of course, as health guidelines change, of course, the residence adapts to that as well, which is great. Aaron, you mentioned that students are currently staying in single rooms. On a normal year, quote unquote normal year, is there a roommate process and can students potentially choose their own roommates as well?
Yeah, so normal year, so we've had a couple iterations of it about choosing roommates, and that might be changing. But regardless, yes, you'd be able to choose your roommates. I don't want to speak towards how, but yeah, you have a possibility. On this note, something to mention is that even in the COVID parameter, like in the future, you can still request to have a person you know as a roommate, and we'll have to review the application. A lot of times it is for family, so if you have a sibling, that will typically be something that we can approve, but I would say still request it. It just is done not as, um, it takes longer, and we have to see if we can approve it based on the health parameters. So roommates are still available. It's just it's a much stricter guideline.
Of course, which is totally makes sense as well. And Iman, did you in your first year did you have a roommate?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome. And how was the general breakup and you know the room construction for you, and how did you feel with having a roommate there?
Yeah, so when I remember going to my room for the first time, I remember it being way bigger than I actually expected it to. Like Hannah said, Chestnut used to be an old hotel, so I'm used to hotel rooms being kind of small, but my room was actually a good size. And especially sharing it with one person, it was really easy to have our own spaces, even though we were living in the same room. I felt like it could be divided well, and even when my roommate was in my room, I still felt like it was mine and like we could share it without having any problems.
Awesome. And then adding to that, there's you know, study spaces and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't want to study in your room, you also have those opportunities available as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. And Hannah, I know you're currently a Dawn, which I assume you get your own room, but do you remember your first year experience and how that was?
Yeah, similar to Iman's where I met my roommate. I remember we both thought that the room was way bigger than we initially thought it was. It's fun to kind of move around the furniture to your liking with your roommate to try to like give yourself a little bit more space. I know even current residents now are moving the cabinets so that they have like one half of the room that's kind of more of like a social area and the other half is like more their bedroom area. Similar to like when you have a roommate and they'll like divide the room out so that you have kind of your own spaces. And then it's nice to just have another person in the room to talk to at the end of the day.
Awesome. That's so cool to hear. Shifting gears a little bit about you know, the sense of community at Chestnut. I'll start with Iman, then Hannah, and then Aaron. Of course, I do want to hear from you as you know, working at Chestnut, how you feel the sense of community is. Iman, back in your first year, did you find it to be, you know, a welcoming area as a first year student going into, you know, the brave adventure of university?
Yeah, so one of the things that actually drew me to Chestnut was as an engineering student, we don't get our own college. So a lot of engineers like end up living at Chestnut, and that was something that I really liked and something that drew me to Chestnut because coming into university it can definitely be a scary experience. But I thought that if I just had, you know, a couple of engineers around me, that I could get through it probably. And I turned out to be very right. There's a lot of engineers at Chestnut, and I found that really helpful because a lot of the friends I made on campus like stayed a couple of floors away from me, so it was really easy if I needed any help with a problem set or understanding something from lecture. I could just take the elevator up or down to their room, knock on their door, and then we could have like study sessions together. So it was really welcoming in that sense, and it was something that I enjoyed particularly about Chestnut.
Awesome, that's great. I know specifically for Chestnut, we can get to this in a little bit, that one of our faculty members, engineering faculty, actually lives in residence as well, which is a wonderful you know, resource for engineering students who, you know, just need someone to talk to, have questions about courses, about, you know, first year, whatever it might be. So that's a wonderful opportunity as well. Hannah, I guess same question to you. You also, if you don't mind talking about maybe your first year, and then you also mentioned something about themed floors. Do you mind elaborating on that a little bit more as well?
Yeah, so just to refresh, my first year I lived on a non-theme floor, so it was a mixture of anybody from U of T that was living on the floor. I had a non-engineering roommate, but then next door to me I had two engineering students. So it was a really fun mix of like, oh, I get to like go to their room to like help out at work problem set or something, and then I came back to my own room just like talk to my roommate about like the day and how we were both like struggling as U of T students through the university course load. So it was a really fun mix of engineering and non-engineering students, and then also to have engineering students and other floors was really great help of just like being able to walk together, to and from campus and residence after classes and whatnot. And this year, I've actually been really fortunate to be a Don this year because all the people at Chestnut right now are here because they really want to be, and they want to make like person-to-person connections, even if it is just as simple as walking through the elevators and walking down the halls. Yeah, and then similarly, like the community is still alive and well here. Of that, most of the building is engineering students, so a lot of them will go to each other's rooms or go to the study spaces together to try to work out a problem set. And even now, as a fourth year, there will be times where I meet somebody who lived at Chestnut in my first year, and we kind of bond over the fact that like, oh, we lived at Chestnut together. Remember like that snowstorm where that happened? We had to like walk all the way to the exam building, and that was so cold. Yeah, so like the bonds you make here can last throughout your university career.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear. I have back when I was in university, a lot of my friends stayed at Chestnut, and they say the same thing. They're still, best friends. They hang out all the time with people that they met in that first week of university at residence. So it's nice to know that, although it's not, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, it's not only for engineering students. It is great to know that there is that sense of community there as well. Now, I want to pose this question. I've heard a lot about the food at Chestnut, and a lot of people say that it's some of the best food on campus. And I just want to, Han, I'll start with you. Iman, I don't know if you remember from first year, but we'll continue in a sec. Is the food as good as it is? And, what's kind of like, how do you eat? Is there all you can eat? Is it room service? What kind of breakdown is it?
Iman, you can go first if you like, because it has
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So during my first year, not sure how it's changed due to COVID, but the dining hall was open at certain times. We could go down. It was kind of like an all you can eat as long as you just like swiped your T card when you went into the dining hall. There was a bunch of options available, which is something that I liked. So they had like a kitchen inside where like made like hot meals, but they also had a vegetarian section. Usually every night, dinner would be kind of like a different theme, I would say. I remember like one of my favorite nights was like the poke night, because I love poke. And so that was really nice. And yeah, the food at Chestnut was top notch.
Hannah, do you want to follow up? And then Aaron, I'll get to you as well.
Yeah, I will 100% echo Iman's belief that yeah, Chestnut has one of the greatest foods on campus. Even now in COVID, when we have to be a little bit more mindful of how much food we are bringing in and just that process, it's still like an all-you-can-eat kind of system of you can get as much of the side entrees as you want. It's a declining balance model now, so you have a certain amount of dollars loaded onto your T card, and you just tap it every time you go through the dining hall, and it'll deduct a certain amount of dollars for whatever you bought. Drinks will cost a little bit extra if you just get the regular dinner plate that's like the standard meal size. And yeah, they'll still have every once in a while a special pop-up night. Like tonight we're having steak night. I think yesterday we had the poke night, and then there's a lot of different varieties from different cultures. So it's really great.
Awesome. Now, Aaron, in terms of, we've heard a lot about the food, which is great. Do you mind talking about just the other types of amenities on or in residence? Are there laundry rooms? Is there a games room? Is there a study hall? Do you mind just talking about, the different things available to students at Chestnut?
Mm-hmm. So in a non-COVID time, you'd have, well, I mean, also right now, but I just say in general, we have our urban lounge, which is a common area downstairs with pool, like a PlayStation, Xbox, large TVs, like a really large common space. Upstairs is something called the Lookout, which used to be a restaurant, a rotating restaurant, and that's like a nice study area. We have music rooms downstairs. We have the gym, and we have laundry. And now we have common rooms on every floor too. So that's what's available. But with COVID times, a lot of that has been decreased. So the number of people going into the space has been decreased. Our gym is also a little bit different now. We rent out equipment to students rather than having it open. And we also have study rooms upstairs too, and those are decreasing capacity. So if you end up looking at our website, all the amenities are still there. It's just modified in some ways.
Awesome. And then if you don't mind talking about just the location of Chestnut. I know, again, with the pandemic going on, malls and all that kind of stuff are closed, but it's located, just down the street from the Eaton Center, right?
So we're located at Dundas and Chestnut, which is right off of Dundas and Bay and Dundas and Yonge. So it's like a 2-minute walk from the Eaton Center. Beyond that, it's like a 1-minute walk from Nathan Phillips Square. So you can go skating if you want. There's the Christmas market there. We're on Dundas itself. So there's a lot of food there. If you are, let's say, interested in the science area, there's Research Alley, which is the alley on University with all the hospitals. So any kind of volunteering there. We're also like 10 minutes from Chinatown. So it's a prime area. There's a lot of things around us, and it's very easy to travel places. We're also sandwiched between two prime subway stops. So on one, I believe it's St. Patrick on one and College on the other one. So you can go southbound or northbound and get anywhere in downtown. So it's kind of like a core location downtown.
That's awesome. It's yeah. I always remember when I would visit friends at Chestnut. There's literally any kind of restaurant you think of. You can go shopping. You can go again. All the tourist sites. Everything you want to see is available in there. So it's a really good location. Coupled with the fact that, as everyone mentioned, it's about a 10-minute walk from where your classes will be. So it's you get the best of both worlds, that campus feel and the city feel as well.
Great coffee, and every place delivers here.
Yeah, there you go. Hannah, do you mind talking about, and Aman, I'll jump to you as well if you do recall, but Chestnut does have a really big engineering population. Do you mind talking about some of the services available to engineering students, or just kind of the feel for engineering students and what they can get out of just staying at Chestnut?
Yeah, so first and foremost, there's the engineering theme floors, which have an engineering dawn. So they're usually a third or fourth year or even higher master's student dawn that's gone through engineering programs. So for me, it's been really cool to be able to help the first years and the second years on my floor to try to give each other tips on how to study better, which professors are good, which classes you might need a little bit more help with. Then there's also the live-in engineering professor. So this year we had Professor Chirag, who's been very helpful in terms of, you may see him in the dining hall, you might see him passing in the elevators. So it's really cool to be able to see him outside of the academic context and just kind of be a little bit more familiar with the faculty in that kind of sense. Yeah, and Iman, is there any other ones that I kind of miss?
Yeah, I remember. Oh,
sorry.
I remember when I stayed, we would have, especially when it came close to midterms, there would be sessions organized in Chestnut where TAs from a class. So for example, for our calculus class, our calculus TAs would come to Chestnut for a day over the weekend. And we were able to visit them and ask them any questions. And in addition to that, I do remember also having dinners where some of our professors would come to the Chestnut Dining Hall and we would be able to sit down with them. I remember Dean Yip also came one time, which was pretty cool. And I got to have dinner with him, which I brag about often. But yeah, those two things were really nice to kind of increase that engineering community, I would say.
Awesome, that's great. And again, I just want to follow up on a normal year. I'm not sure if anyone can speak to this. Are engineering students who don't live in Chestnut, are they ever able to attend any of these sessions or attend any of these events and participate?
Yeah, in a normal year.
Well, a lot of our events, are open to a lot of people. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, in a normal year, they're open up to all engineering students. I think even with this year, with the virtual more events, there's a certain time period where only Chestnut students can come in. So there's a little bit of a perk at being at Chestnut, but for the most part, most of the events are open to all engineering students.
Awesome. Aaron, do you want to add anything to that? No, perfect. And Hannah, you mentioned, I just want to, before we get to our next question, you did mention virtual events this year. We don't know what, the fall 2021 is going to look like just yet, but do you mind talking a little bit about, just ways you've been working on engaging, your fellow residents in terms of whether they be engineering students or just any student with virtual events at Chestnut?
Yeah, it's a really great question. For sure, everything has moved this year to virtual just for out of the safety of everybody, making sure everybody feels the opportunity to be included in events, because some people are not as comfortable to meet even 6 feet apart and face to face, just because we don't know where everybody's been throughout the day. So I will say that as the Dons here, we still make a very high effort to make sure there's enough programming and community building activities, just because we know we're all in this together. We really want that spirit to kind of thrive here. So we do try to make things virtual. And we also have optional in-person events. So it can be anything from virtual game night to be if you want to come out and grab a treat out in the lobby area and then go back to your room and we'll do a virtual game night together.
That's awesome. Just trying to, touch upon any way to get students involved, which is a great thing to see. Aaron, I was going to pose this question to you. For engineering students, is Chestnut the only residence that they can stay in?
No, I believe most, I don't quote me with, but other residences do. I know Ennis takes some. New College also has a large contingent of engineering students. So no, it's not the only one. We just have a large population because, as I think everyone mentioned, we do have those engineering floors. So it's a bigger draw, and we do have set committees. And that's not to say other colleges don't either. They do have them too. But because we have 3 floors, it's probably just based on numbers, we have a larger community.
Awesome. And then as Iman and Hannah mentioned, engineering floor, we have the faculty, Professor Shirag Variawa living in residence. And if anyone who's watching this has watched any of our other videos, they've probably heard Professor Shirag Variawa speak, which is great. And yeah, there's just so many different aspects associated with being an engineer at Chestnut, which is great. We're running a little short on time, but Aaron, I want to follow up with you in terms of, if I'm a student and I want to get a little bit more information about Chestnut, about, general information about it, do you have any tours and do you have any resources on your website that might be useful?
So absolutely, we do have tours. I would go through our Instagram. So all this can be found on our website. On our website, you can find all the details about your application. There's floor plans, there's pictures, there's what every floor is, there's what the residence life is, there's other job opportunities you have. So all our information can be found there. Also, all our contact information can be found there. If you have any questions about anything, it's all on there. So yeah, our website kind of covers it all. And if we don't, just email us and we're happy to follow up with you one-on-one.
And all the tours are virtual right now, right? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Just as a final question, as a final, closing before we finish up here, just general next steps. Aaron, do you mind talking a little bit about, just what the application process to residence will look like, about MyRes and all that kind of stuff?
So it's through StarRes portal, I believe, this year. So you'll be applying through there. It's a very straightforward application. I just did one that was testing. It is like name, dates, what program you're in. It's very straightforward. It's all laid out there for you. So I believe the application is due by March 31st to secure guarantee, but you don't have to wait till you're, because you have different residences. You can apply to all of them at once. You don't have to wait. I would say apply as fast as you can. After you finish your application, you'll reach to a point where you have to submit a deposit before going forward. Once that deposit is paid, you will then be pushed to the next step, which is stuff like room selection and stuff like that. As I mentioned before, right now, it's all singles based on the COVID pieces, but that may change. So I will say a lot of these things are set in place now as based on the parameters we have. So that's only caveat, things may change a little. And then once you've completed that whole step, once you really paid the deposit and then moved on there, you're pretty much set. All right, once you've got that in by the 31st, you have a space. And then after that would just be picking a roommate if you do have one, if you really want to request one, and then picking your own single room.
Awesome. That's great. And I know we get the question a lot, do I need to be accepted or do I need to, get into U of T before applying for residence? And the answer is no, you do not. You don't have to worry about that. Do your application, apply through for residence. And then, when the decision comes, then you can, of course, make your decision as well.
I just want to correct something there real quick, is that once you finish your application up until the deposit, you will hear back from us with an offer for the next step. So if you don't hear back after that, then reach out if you're just sitting there thinking, because sometimes little things may have gone missing or some things may have gotten mixed up. So if you have reached that step and you haven't heard back, reach out to us.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for clarifying that. And I just want to really close off a quick sentence from each of you really about just, what your favorite part about either staying or currently staying at Chestnut is or was, and just any recommendations you have for incoming first-year students. Iman, we'll start with you.
Yeah, definitely my favorite part of staying at Chestnut was the people. They really helped me in my journey with transitioning to university, as well as in my classes and such. And it was nice to see my friends at Chestnut. And I would say for anybody coming in and who will be staying at Chestnut or really any other residence, be open to meeting other people, because like your friends and the people you'll meet, especially in residence, can really help make your time at university that much better.
Awesome. Well put. Hannah, do you mind following up? Or
For sure. Yeah, I will say number one was the people, and I'll add secondarily is the food. As an engineering student, you'll go through a lot of stress from classes and other things in life. And it's nice to know that you can come back to Chestnut and not have to worry about what's your next meal going to be and that sort of thing. So that's a really big bonus. And then, as I say to all my students currently living on my floor right now, you do you. You know what's best for you. So it's going to be a difficult but challenging but really enjoyable journey, as long as you make it about you.
Awesome. That's really, really well put as well. And Aaron, I'll give you the last statement as to, what's it like being at Chestnut, working there, and just seeing, students coming in and having that experience for them as well.
Yeah, what you both touched on is right about I'll diverge a little bit. I think it's a great place to also experience what Toronto is. So where you're located, the things you can do, like being on campus is great, and I lived on campus myself. But a lot of times, I find that you don't get stuck. That's where you kind of explore. So when you're off campus here, there's just so much you can explore in the city to make that kind of maximize your time at the university. And what's great about Chestnut is there's so many things offered, and it's really about what you want to make out of it. Like, what is your experience? What do you want to make out of it? What do you want to join? What do you want to do? And the same with the community. So yeah, it's just a great place to see Toronto, experience what life living here is like, and not just the academics of the university.
Nice. That's, again, all three of you. You should all write a book about Chestnut. It's beautiful. I do want to thank you all, Iman, Hannah, and Aaron. Thank you so much for your time. And everyone watching, thank you so much for your time as well. As Aaron mentioned, ask questions, follow up, have that application in by March 31st. And again, the team is there to assist you every step of the way. So follow up if you have any questions about what it's like living. If you want to watch videos, I know there's great videos on the Chestnut Residence website as well. So don't forget, reach out, ask, and once again, congratulations on your admittance. And fingers crossed, we hope to see you next year at U of T, and of course at Chestnut Residence as well. Have a great day and all the best.